So this is quite a claim. Josh Harris, former Big Ben teammate in Pittsburgh, says he intentionally fumbled 4 years ago. The video is arguable. Nobody can really prove it, but he said 2014, week 17, we're playing the Bengals, up by 10, a minute left. Todd Haley, who Ben hated, called a run play with very little time left in the game. Big Ben wanted to kneel, and when the play came into the huddle, Big Ben rolled his eyes. So if you see the play, he then fumbled on the next play. And Josh Harris is saying, Big Ben, to spite Todd Haley, fumbled the ball. Now, Steelers up by 10, minute left, we're going to win the football game. But that would stick. That would be a stench. That's sabotage. Win or lose that game, that is just not appropriate in football. Again, in baseball, fourth game of a series, up by 9 in your division. It's August. You partied too hard. You give up an at-bat. I see it in basketball, tennis, golf. You don't do that in football. True or not, you don't do it. And here's the thing. Le'Veon Bell, it's his fault. Antonio Brown, his fault. Big Ben, his fault. Mike Tomlin, his fault. Here's the thing. I don't need Antonio Brown to be a leader. I don't need Le'Veon Bell to be a leader. I just need him to be talented. But I need my quarterback to be a leader. That's not leadership. There's two great quarterbacks in the NFL, and they're both amazing, and I've compared them for years, Aaron Rodgers and Big Ben. They're the only great first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks currently playing that are called out regularly by teammates, current, former teammates. Here we go again with Ben. And this morning, there's going to be people that defend Ben Roethlisberger, and they blame it on other people. I don't need wide receivers and running backs to be leaders. That's why I do care about the Wonderlic test for quarterbacks, and I do care about their family upbringing, and I do care if they have leadership qualities. And I took the claims against certain quarterbacks out of college as screw-offs. Johnny Manziel, not a grown-up. Baker Mayfield, wore me out. That's why. Because this is not a position to just be talented. Leadership is crucial. Brady's probably the best leader of all time. Not the best arm, not the best talent. Joe Montana, Russell Wilson, guys I like, Drew Brees. Look, you can like Big Ben, and you can stand behind Big Ben. But for once again, Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers, teammates are just willing to go public. I mean, listen, I've worked with people that I don't love, but you'd have to be a real schmuck for me to go out and publicly hammer you. I mean, we've all worked with people we don't like, but when you put it on paper, when you stand in front of a mic, I mean, for Josh Harris, kind of a nobody in the league to do that, there's just too much smoke here with Big Ben. And by the way, I get this. His teammate Josh comes out and he says, great player, but he doesn't connect with teammates. For the record, that's the knock on Aaron Rodgers. And I've seen my entire life great athletes who I don't think are great leaders. A-Rod, Barry Bonds, Kobe Bryant, Carmelo Anthony, Big Ben. I think they're unbelievable talents. I don't think they're great leaders. I think Jeter's a great leader. Russell Wilson's a great leader. Peyton Manning's a great leader. Tom Brady's a great leader. There is a gap here. There is a difference. Don't confuse the two. Great talent and a leader. Jeter was both. Okay, Steph Curry is both. Brady is both. But you can keep defending Ben Roethlisberger, but there's just way too much smoke here. And quarterback is not just about talent. You lead the class. You talk in the huddle. You lead the film session. Shame on Ben if it's true. That's a really, really awful claim. And if you look at the video, I'm not going to say it's true, but it's not untrue. That's all I'm saying when I see that video. But there is sort of a military sense with football that you got a playbook, you keep it quiet, you don't lose that playbook, and you're part of a real brotherhood. And that's why in the NFL, if you're in the front office, talk less, always. So Mike Mayock is a nice guy, he's a broadcaster, and John Gruden, I get along with John, he's a broadcaster. But these guys are long-time television personalities, and I said this last year with John Gruden, stop talking. You don't need to perform anymore. When you're on television, I'm paid to perform. Be theatrical, give you strong opinions. That's what I'm paid to do. Once you're a football coach, you have to get out of that former TV thing and almost go the opposite way, from engaging to extending a conversation to giving me more than I need to reeling it all in, walking to a podium and saying on to Cincinnati. You just don't hear the best front office people in the NFL talk almost ever. Howie Roseman, Philadelphia, great. I never see him talk. Chris Ballard. You just don't see these guys talk. So Mike Mayock, like Gruden, comes from a long career in television. Now those two guys are running the Raiders. And Dan Patrick had Mike Mayock the other day talking about that trade that got him Antonio Brown. Okay, now, Joy, tell me if I'm overreacting. Isn't that a private conversation?
Yeah. You don't really want to reveal what swayed you and how your strategy was and when you didn't want someone and then you did.
Because doesn't that make it look like Kevin Colbert, GM of Steelers, came and Mike swatted him away and Mike got what he wanted? It makes Kevin Colbert look like he lost this sort of transaction. By the way, it's incidental. Mike's not trying to do that, but Mike was performing. Mike was being a guest on a show. It was a good question. It elicited a great answer. That's what hosts should do. Good for Dan. But that feels like a private conversation, and people aren't going to want to do business with you if they think your trades are going to end up on radio and TV shows.
Well, I mean, look what just happened with the Lakers and what a disaster that was. In general, when you are moving pieces around, and these pieces are human beings, and they have families, and they're attached to fan bases, and have spent years in a particular place, and you have a fan base you're responsible for as well, you want to keep the inner workings of how those deals are done very, very private.
You know, it's like a family. Like there's certain times, your family, my family, we just keep this in the house. It may be discipline with one of our kids. It may be a fight you have with your spouse. We're just going to keep this in the house. Nobody in the neighborhood needs to know about this. That doesn't mean it was a terrible situation. It doesn't mean it's illegal.
Or the wrong decision.
It's just sometimes just keep stuff in-house. And in the NFL, we got a history here. That's the opposite of what the Patriots do. What would Belichick do? He wouldn't talk about another GM, the phone call. That's just a private conversation. And I'll say this. I said this with Gruden last year. Gruden last year was performing. And listen, I worked at a company for 11 years. It took me about a year and a half to get it out of your head. Not that you have grudges, but when you go down a hallway for 11 years and then you go down a different hallway, if you're in a marriage for 15 years and then you get out of the marriage, for the next year you're in habits and trying to kind of unravel and unpack the way you did things. And I just think they have two TV guys who are now in an NFL situation and they just talk a lot all the time. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.